Good afternoon. Welcome to today's webinar. My name is IK, and I'm coming live to you from Johannesburg. I have my colleague, Musa Similani. Musa Similani is also coming live to you from Johannesburg. Colleagues, I want to thank you so much for taking our time to join us today for this rather very interesting session that we started yesterday, and we are having the second session today. Also, I want to say a big thank you to those attendees yesterday for the quite engaging session yesterday, and I hope that today is actually going to turn out the same. Colleagues, this topic for today is actually on progressed learners. So how do we analyze our progressed learners? We know that we always have these progress learners in our schools. Now, the thing is, how do we actually use the dashboard, and not just the dashboard, the data that is actually captured on SSMs that is verified and also sent to the dashboard after verification? How do we use those information, the data on the dashboard, to now support our schools to say, we want to reduce the numbers? We would not say we want to eliminate progress learners entirely, but rather start with, we want to reduce the learners of our progress learners every promotion cycle. How do we do that? The first thing first is that we need to identify how many progress learners we have, and how is the data. Is the promoted learners higher than the progress learners, or vice versa? Is the progress learners higher than the promoted learners? We also need to actually say, who are these progress learners? We are looking at the numbers. That's the first thing. Then the second thing is identifying who are these progress learners individually. Now, after that, we need to start saying, what are the factors? What are the factors affecting these learners to either be progressed in every promotion cycle? And that we will be looking at, what are the subjects that is actually hindering these learners from being promoted the next promotion cycle. How do we reduce the numbers? Our schools, the schools in a particular district, the schools in a particular circuit, is actually having high number of progress learners. I think the first thing that we have to do is, how do we reduce, not actually eliminate totally. We have to start to reduce the number before it fades away. How do we rather reduce this numbers? And also, progress learners is the big problem statement. It's the problem statement. The next thing we need to look is that, what are the factors contributing to this problem statement? We don't just, blink our eyes or tap our fingers and we have these progress learners. They are actually problems that is, that actually forms the factors that is actually making those learners be progress, and that is actually subject performance, right? How are the educators actually skilled to teach those subjects? Do we need to profile these educators compared to the subject that the learner is actually doing? How are the subject performance of other learners compared to those progress learners? We need to look at that. It's a journey, and we'll start from now. Thank you so much. Permit me to go to the next slide. And the next slide is going to be talking about how the webinar today is going to be run. Now let's move on. The first thing we want to look at now, colleagues, is the objective, right? What are the objectives that we're going to be talking about? Now, we have put together 3 objectives for the course of this 1-hour webinar presentation. The first one here is to understand how to navigate promotion statistics. How do we navigate the promotion statistics? We're actually going to be finding out that. The second one is to understand how to analyze the promotion statistics. You navigate. So navigation is, how do you, move from one end to the other, understanding that. Then it doesn't actually end there. The next thing is, having understood the navigation, how do you now start analyzing this promotion statistics report? So the data there, how do you start analyzing? Now, the third one is compare the school promotion statistics data focusing on progress learners. How do we actually now start comparing, with the knowledge that we're actually going to learn today? that help us to start comparing this. So if you are sitting at actually at a district level, the circuit manager's curriculum, how do we start comparing, apples and apples? How do we start comparing this? And how do we actually learn from maybe a school that is actually, incorporating the interventions and all that? How do we learn from them and incorporate that into other? We'll be able to be looking at that. Permit me to go to the next slide. Now, the next slide is talking about navigating this promotion data, right? We're looking at this promotion statistics data, but we are going to be utilizing a report in quest of this. We are going to be utilizing a report in quest of this. But before we go to the report part, let's look at what does the dashboard show us when we look at the promotion statistics on the dashboard summary page, right? What does it show us? On that 4 pie charts that we have, right? What does the information on promotion statistics? So when you log on your dashboard, the first thing we see, colleagues, is we see the summary page. And one of the pie charts speaks to the promotion statistics. That's what we see here. And please observe the different color shades here that is here. This color shade says something, and this color shade says something else. But we're actually going to be seeing what does it say. Now it says here, the summary page of the dashboard allows us to navigate the promotion statistics. Now on the summary page, it doesn't have a detailed information. It just gives you a holistic, a summary view of what the promotion statistics is for your school, or if you're at the district level, for the school under your district or the school under your circuit that you're actually engaging. Right? Now, the next thing is here. Remember, I told you that this color means different things. Now, can we see, once you hover your cursor on this pie chart, so you will see a breakdown of the promotion statistics. And that is what you see here. Now, we see that this color here are the color shade of the pie chart for the promoted learners. Is the color shade of the pie chart for the promoted learners. The other one we are actually seeing here is the color shade for the progressed learners, and they are all actually represented in percentage. So it guides you to say what is the percentage of the promotion statistics in my school, in the school in my district, in the schools in my circuit, as the case may be, right? Then the one that is not here is actually the not promoted learners, right? Out of all this pie chart, we have within, which has no percentage. We also have unknown. So when we say unknown, unknown means those learners that do not have promotion status, right? Those learners that have missing data, that do not have promotion status. So we have 0%. Now, out of this promotion percentage, it's run under this total number of learners, which is 851, right? And the last is talking about the data completeness. Remember the Valistrator, which is a tool that validates completeness and quality of the data, right? Talks about completeness and not correctness. Completeness means all the fields has been captured, right? Why correctness means that data was verified. Correctness needs a human element to actually verify this information. Okay, so I hope you understand what the pie chart says. When you log onto the dashboard, it's under your summary page. You would see it, the promotion statistics. It's very good to look at that, right? You get a holistic view, like the problem statement. It tells you how many percentage of progress learners that you actually have. Now, before you start digging deep to see who are those individuals, right? The summary information does not end there, right? Let's see what it shows again. Now, when you actually scroll down to the end of the summary page, that is after the achievement level on the summary page of the dashboard, you would see this graphical representation of what we have to see here, right? We actually see that you see the different color. Now, when you look at it, you see there's a threshold here. So the progressed learners, there's a threshold, a target, right? We are actually having progressed learners falling out of that threshold, right? And when you go here, you will see this highlighted portion is actually for the progressed learners, right? It also gives you the promotion statistics by grade by grade. So you can actually track per grade. Remember, you are still actually under the summary page, right? We have not even gone to the report where the breakdown is, right? You're actually at the summary page. Now, when we look up here, it also gives you a percentage of overage learners per grade in the promotion statistics. And when you look here, you can see a -12%. It can be negative, it can be positive. But I'll just quickly tell you what this percentage means. Now, this percentage is saying from the previous cycle. So if this is 2020, that means the last promotion statistics is 2019. So in 2019 to 2020, for grade 9, right, they lost 12%. They lost 12% of the promotion statistics. So when we are looking at this, we now know that based on what we have, if we see a minus, that means we are actually regressing. We are actually losing ground. So we need to make sure that this is constantly positive, but it needs a lot of work, right? Just to show you that you are actually losing ground when you have this negative. But when you have positive, it means from the last promotion cycle to the recent one, you have gained XYZ, whatsoever the percentage is there. Now, last but not the least on the summary page is the distribution of the promotion statistics. Also include your numbers of learners. Now, when we look at it, can we see that promotion statistics is saying 24 here, right? It's saying 24% here. Now, when you look at this, you can actually see that out of this 24%, it's representing 57 learners for the school, right? 57 learners were promoted. Now, when you look at the progress learners, you see it's actually in two sheets. The one is within targets, the other one is outside the threshold. Now, it's saying that 51%, that is 190 learners. And we can see here, we see the numbers of learners promoted and numbers that are progressed, right? It might even be almost double of this number. So there's actually work to do. For a school that is seeing this, we know that a lot of learners in the school are actually being progressed, right? Now, remember what I said, that is the problem statement. We now have the problem. So it's like when we are having a meeting, we have a main agenda, right? We are having higher numbers of learners progressed as against numbers of learners promoted. That is aside. Now, let's move on. Now, we want to start engaging the cost of the matter because we have seen the problem statement already. We want to now start engaging the cost of the matter. Out of those numbers of learners, 100 that has been progressed, how do we investigate and know these learners individually? Now we want to go to the root cause, right? Remember, one of our topics of the webinars we have is root cause analysis. If you have missed that, please go to our DDD YouTube channel and look at the playlist, and please watch the root cause analysis. It tells us how to investigate further, how to analyze further. Now, we want to know what are the factors that are contributing to that high numbers of learners being progressed. First of all, we want to know who are those learners. And how can we do that? We can do that by engaging a report, which is called the learner chart report. The learner chart report. That is the report we're actually going to be engaging. And this report can be found at different levels of access using the dashboard. And this is what I'm telling you. So that is what from the provincial level down to the school level, this report can actually be utilized. Now, if you are sitting at any of this level, know that you can actually get this report. But we are going to be using the school level as an example for the purpose of this webinar. Now, the next thing we need to say, if you have access to the dashboard, how can you locate the learner chart report on the dashboard? How can you locate the learner chart report on the dashboard? Colleagues, the first thing that you need to do is log onto the dashboard on your summary, because when you log on, it takes you straight to your summary page. That is your landing page. Skip that and click on report. This is what you see. So click on this tab, report. When you log onto the dashboard, it keeps you on this tab. Skip here and click here. Immediately you click here, this is what you're actually going to see. The report that we're going to be engaging is the learner chart report. It is under the learner achievement report. So the 1, 2, 3, the fourth report under learner chart report. Please, why I'm actually taking my time to simulate all of this is for the purposes of those that are actually going to listen again to the recording. So follow exactly so you are not actually lost or confused. It's the fourth report under the learner chat report. Immediately you click on this dialog box shows. Now, when you look at this, it shows that this report can actually be downloaded using either of these parameter options. So either of the grade, what achievements you are looking at. Is it report mark, exam test? Are you looking at the raw marks? You want to look at last term promotion, and you want to look at the current promotion status. So you can actually choose any and download this report. When you have done this, you click on apply. Immediately you click on apply, the report will come. But before we go to the report, let's look at few of the terminologies of the tabs in the report actually going to engage in. Please note that what we have just put down is just a few of what is in the report. So explaining what is that. So we have the learner name, we have the 2020 promotion status, we have the 10 promotion status, we have the learner average, which includes all subjects, and we have the subject performance. So these are the descriptions that we have actually put to guide the understanding of this key information available on the learner chart, right? You'll go through them when you have the slide. Colleagues, now moving straight. Now we are looking at the learner chart report. What is actually on this learner chart report? Remember, you can actually get it from the provincial level down to the school level, but for the purpose of this webinar, we are actually engaging this learner chart report at the school level basis, right? Now, when you download that report, this is what you're going to see. This is the information available on the learner chart report. Can we see that it gives us the school name, it gives us the MS code, it gives us the institution name, which is the school name, accession number, and the learner name. Can we see now we have individual learner names? I would not be able to see this because of Copy Act, right? Protection of personal information. However, principals, school-based, and some of the district-based that has direct link with the school. And when I say directly, they work directly with these learners and the educators. They'll be able to see this. But because Copy Act, I don't have any business knowing the learner names, then I am not supposed to have the learner name. That's why it's represented in a section number. But the good thing is that you have the names, you have the gender, you have the grade. Remember, the grade is also one of the parameter options that you're actually engaging with this report. We also have, very interestingly, the previous promotion term and the current promotion term. And this is very important because you can track. Another good thing about this is that you can go way back. So historical data, we can say, is there a trend? Are we noticing anything? Let's go 2 years back. Let's go 3 years back. But please, colleagues, note that if you have not been submitting data 2 years back, 3 years back, 4 years back, there's no need you going that back because you will not be able to see any data. So the data you're actually going to be seeing is data that is actually submitted. That's why we need to encourage our schools. We need to actually make sure our schools submit their data continuously. As beautiful as this report is, as important as this report is, we cannot utilize the report if data is not submitted. Another thing also, if the data is not moderated and verified, the information we are going to be having here is not going to be credible, because it's garbage in, garbage out. So if you want to use this, if you want this to work for you, make sure that the source which is capturing on SSMs, the data is being verified, moderated, and strict timelines adhered to. So this information can work for each and every one of us. Now, moving forward, based on what I'm going to say, let's look at the other side of the report. Now, when you look at the other side of the report, you also notice here that you see the number of subject. So remember, the analysis, it's so long. So the progress learners is actually the main problem. Now, those factors that are actually affecting those progress learners can be learners failing a couple of subjects, right? Do we actually know the number of sub-subjects individually those progress learners are actually failing? We might not know them, but we have that information here. And also the good thing is that you can also look at their FET pass quality. You know, if they are actually at an FET phase, right? You look at their FET, or the report is downloaded at an FET phase, you can see the FET pass quality. You can also see the average of all subjects. How are they faring? That you can see here. And the beauty of this slide is, of this report, is that you can see the individual subject and the performance, which is critical to every analysis of progress learners. Another good thing, right, that this report is that the performances of the subject has been distributed in the RAG form, which is the red, amber, green. We know that the red are learners that are failing, subjects that are not performed well. Amber is those that are passing but close to failing, subjects that are actually doing well but close to failing, and the green are those subjects that are actually doing well, right? So all that we need to actually do is make sure that during analysis we have a workbook, right? Because I am not a fan of when you analyze, you actually say, okay, no, write those things down. Because when you write them down, you are actually trying to strategize and actually trying to say, this is where I am starting, right? So it's always advisable, have a workbook, have an empty notepad, whatsoever it is, whatsoever works for you, make sure you have that during your analysis, right? Now, the next slide that we're actually going to be going to that, we have seen all this information. The next thing is, how does this report gives us those information that we want to see? Remember, in the course of this session, we are focusing on progress learners, right? How do we use this data? How does this data work for us? We don't want to see promoted. We don't want to say, we want to focus on progress learners. Now, the first thing that we need to do and the skill we need to incorporate is the filtering skill. And what does filtering do? Filtering says, can we refresh this and only see those information that I am interested in, right? Be you a principal, be you an educator, be you a subject advisor, be you a circuit manager. We actually are interested in different sets of the report. So can I see those? I don't want to see the rest. It's not that I'm deleting them. It's not that they are not useful to me, but for the time being, for the analysis that I want to do now, can I look at the progress learners or whatsoever that I want to work on? Then we actually engage filtering. How do we filter? That will be the next question that comes to mind. How do I go on this journey of filtering? How do I eliminate those information, those data that I don't want to see? Now, the first thing is, remember the steps of downloading the report. On the summary page, you go to learner achievement, the fourth report, which is the learner report. You click on the parameters you want to download them, and you click apply. Immediately you click apply. Remember, this is at a school level, right? This is what you see. Now, the first thing you need to do is highlight the rows that have the subheadings. Highlight them. Make sure it is end to end. Make sure it is end to end. So when you highlight, scroll to the end and make sure it is end to end. Because if it's not end to end, it's not going to give you the right data that you're actually looking for. So make sure it is highlighted end to end. What's the next thing that we need to do? The next thing that we need to do is click on data, right? Immediately we click on data, followed by filter. So you click on data, then you click on filter. Immediately you click on filter, colleagues. The next thing is these drop-down arrows would appear. The drop-down arrows would appear. Now, immediately that is being done, what is it saying? It's saying that this workbook, this Excel workbook is ready now to eliminate those data that you do not want to see. And by this action, you are now deciding on the column. The column that you click first will decide what happens to the other columns. So if I say I want to see just promotion statistics previous year, and based on that, and that's what the next slide is saying, based on that, I want to see promoted, I want to see just progressed. All you need to do is select all, it checks all these checks is going to go out, then you check one, just maybe it's progress, which is PG, you check that one, and immediately you check their colleagues, and you say, okay, what happens to this workbook is that it refreshes immediately, and only the parameter option that is selected, which is progress, all this other information would have information of just progressed learners. I hope that is clear. That is actually the first step to go. Now, when that is being done, remember that will give you first the names of all the progress learners. So, like the summary page of the dashboard told us that we have, is it 119 or 117? I am not sure, but it will give you the names of all those learners. Amazing, isn't it? That's the first thing that you need to know. Who are those learners? And remember, it gives you the gender, it gives you the grade, it gives you the promotion status for the previous term, and for the current term, it gives you another thing, which is we're seeing here, numbers of subject fields. That's the next step. That is what we are actually trying to see. The numbers of subject fields. That's another thing it's actually going to give. You know, we are getting there. It's amazing, right? We have gotten the individual names of these learners. Now we are getting the subject. Imagine you are having SMT meetings, right? And you are speaking about this very important thing, and you have done this analysis before that meeting. I'm telling you, that meeting is going to be very strategic because you have these learners by name. You know who they are. It's not pictures, and these are names that you have. These are learners in your school. Now you have the subjects that they are filling. You have the gender, you have their age, you have their promotion status. If it's FET phase, you have their FET pass quality. Not only that, you also have the subject performance. That's the next slide. We know the total numbers they are failing. Now, the next thing we are going to look based on individual, what are the individual subject performance? You might say, no, let's not be in a hurry. Let's not look at the individual subject performance. Let's take a step back. And you might say, I want to know based on this progress. Remember, we have filtered, and our parameter option that we choose is just progress learners. So everything on that workbook is speaking to progress learners. You are not seeing any promoted, you are not seeing any other promotion status, you're only seeing progress learners. Now, everything in that workbook is speaking about progress learners. The next thing we want to do now, we are not saying we want to look at the individual subject performance, but we are saying, let's look at those subjects that are in red based on priorities, right? You know, red, they need immediate support. Now, based on the numbers, remember, you know, level of analysis differs. What school A is tracking might not be what school B is tracking. So that's why I always say when I facilitate, please don't pin your thoughts to parameter options. Maybe I'm saying I'm using grade 12, grade 6. No, please don't copy what I use. Just know the flow. Because I believe that everyone analyzes differently and the parameter option they choose differs. So if you know the process, you would be able to do what I am doing, right? Now, first of all, imagine when maybe the SMT says, let's look at those subjects that are actually failing and failing badly, which are subjects that are in red. First thing we want to do, we decide, do we have strategic subjects? We want to look at all the subjects that are being actually done by the progress learners. If that is what we're actually looking at, then we go individually based on the subject and we filter by color. Once we click on the tab, each subject we want to do, like now I'm using IsiXhosa home language as an example. I click here, I say filter, this dialog box comes. Immediately you click here, the dialog box comes. You go to filter by color. And immediately you put your cursor here, this comes out. Now, some might not see all these colors. Some might see only red. Some might see red and amber. Some might see amber and green. Whatsoever you see is based on how the subject is being performed by the progress learner. So don't say, oh no, when IK did his analysis example, I saw 3 colors, I saw 4, right? If you see 1, if you see 2, that is based on what the subjects are being performed by the progress learners, but also make sure that when you highlighted, you remember the first steps that I did, make sure you highlighted end to end, because if you did not, it will skew the data that you're actually going to get. Now, once we have gotten this, remember you have it's also home language, English language. You write the subject. You might draw 2 columns and say subject priority, subject priority. Now we say priority is red. We are actually looking at those subjects performing at a red level, right? Then we start putting the subjects. When we start analyzing, we start putting the subject down. We start filtering by color. We say, you know, economics, red. Accounting, red. Most of the subject might not have anyone performing at a red level. It depends, as I said. right? Then you might say, okay, you've gotten those in red, you want to go to those in amber and those in green. You write the total numbers of subjects. The red are, or you might say the commonly failed subjects, because it's the progress learners that are actually failing that. Now, once that is being done, right, remember you have a template that you put down, right? Now, you have known the individuals that have progressed. You have known their age, you have known their gender, you have known their promotion status. You might say, okay, I want to go 2 years back to see, is there any trend in the performances of these learners? Is there any trend? You can go 2 years back and it might shock you. There's a trend. There's a learner that has been progressed from them. So we need to understand. Another thing also is that you might now look at the subjects that they are actually failing and see that most of these learners are failing a particular subject. That's why we say commonly failed subjects. What are the commonly failed subjects? Now we need to look at that subject, and then we need to take a step back and say, who is the educator of the subject? But first of all, confirming the attendance of these learners, that they were in school when the subject is being taught. Right? Now, who is the educator that is actually teaching the subject? Now, we start looking at the educator's profile. What is the educator specialized for this subject? Right? How many years teaching experience does this educator have? How many learners are assigned to this subject? Because you don't, when you analyze, you don't eliminate anything. You don't say, oh, this is not important. No. What you are saying is not important might be the cause of the problem. So we need to make sure that we actually analyze every single thing. What are the subjects that the educator is specialized on? How many years has the educator been teaching? What is the educator attendance? You look at every single detail. Look at those other learners that are actually writing the subject. What is the volume or percentage of learners failing the subject in the class? Other subjects that these progress learners are actually passing, who are the educators that are teaching them? Is there anything those educators that they actually, the progress learners are failing the subject needs to learn from those educators that are actually teaching? Is it the teaching style? We need to look at all of this because it's very important. And the information on the dashboard is going to help us to actually analyze and get all of this out. Now, the next thing we need to look at, can we see the table? We remember all those analyses that we actually did. You know, we put it down in this table. Now, look at this. It says grade 6. Now, we're looking at grade 6 alone. Progress learners. We look at the promotion status. Remember, you can look at that. And also the number of subjects, which is one of the information on the learner chart report. Remember that information that I said, we need to look at those subjects that are commonly failed. We put that down also. This will actually guide us in our discussion. The next one, we look at grade 12, the same thing that we did. What are those subjects that are commonly failed? Can you see how many learners that are actually failing there? You put them down. Because immediately you do that commonly failed, it gives you the names of the learners. Remember, any parameter that you actually filter, it changes the whole workbook to represent that information. Okay, now let's move to the next slide. A continuation of exactly what I just said, but this is actually now different. We're actually looking at grade 12 and we are looking at the progress learners, number of subjects. Can we see they are all failing two subjects? And those are the 2 subjects. Also, a problem statement for us. We need to also compare the subjects to other learners, right? How many learners are actually failing this class? We go to the next one. It's telling us also the same thing. Now, these are still 2 subjects and they have a commonly failed subject, which is mathematics and physical science. Remember, we analyze differently. So the information I'm showing you is an example. But if you follow the same process that I've just said, you would get your information based on what your school is tracking and based on what your school wants to analyze. Right? Now, colleagues, based on what I have said, right, and based on the information that you have heard, I would want to hear your questions. I would want to hear your feedback. I would want to hear what you think, right, based on what we have discussed. Or if you're a school and you're doing this differently, we are also here to learn. I am not excluded. I'm also here to learn. How is it working for you? Did this session that we had, did you actually learn anything? Is there something that actually triggered in you, or is there a way that we can do this better? As I said, the discussion is endless. Are we actually tracking progress differently from what we have actually shared here? As I said, this is not the only way, but I'm just saying the power of the data, because most of the schools, they say we capture this information, the department will never bring this information back, the analysis we don't do. Now you have a tool that assists you with this information. We need to start working with the information. If you don't have the dashboard access, request for the dashboard access. The information in the tool is very powerful, and it's supposed to assist us to continually improve our learner performance. I'll stop here. Musa, if you are there, please, is there any questions from the attendees?
Yes, okay. I logged off and went back in. Do you mind just giving me those co-host rights again?
Okay, okay.
My video.
All right, sorry about that. All right, I have just given that to you now, so you can be able to, yeah. So are there any questions, comments, contributions? Thank you so much.
Great stuff, okay. Well, I see there's a question that just came in from an anonymous attendee. They're saying, can subject advisors follow the same process to find information on progress learners? Would you like to tackle that one?
Yes, thank you so much. Yes, they can. It's the report. So it's two ways, right? For the report, yes, we can follow the same way. However, on the dashboard summary page, the subject advisor needs to go straight to the phase view, right? Remember, either you are an intermediate phase, foundation phase, senior phase, FET phase. Go to your phase view. From your phase view, you look at the subject you are supporting. Now, based on the subject you are supporting, it will give you the view of schools that are actually offering or doing that subject. Now, based on that, it will give you the performances. You can click to, what's it called? Yes, you can click to refresh the page from lowest to highest, right? Now, from lowest to highest means those that are actually failing at the red and those that are actually passing. So you can actually now get the information of the schools based on the subject performance. So that is a different way on the summary page, but using the report, you can go with what I have just said. I hope that explains it.
So we also have a couple of our colleagues with their hands up. We have got Trishan Moraj and Eustace Dichaba, and I'm going to cut to them soon. If Trishan can just prepare themselves, I've just given you permission to be able to talk. If you could just unmute yourself, Trishan. Oh, there we go. Please pose your question.
Yes, good day, colleagues. Thank you again for another fruitful session. I just want to bring something to your attention and need assistance with the way forward. I'm an assessment official in Citibank East District, and I'm working with analysis all the time. But remember, in term 3, we are going to do the possible retention schedules. Now, my question is this. Last year, for the very first time, we had condoned and mark adjustments in the intermediate phase, where learners end up being progressed to the next grade. Now, through SASAMS, that data does not automatically populate to dashboard in terms of those adjustments. It's only the learners that are over age or they are more than they should be in terms of number of years in grade and phase that are populated on SAMS and then transferred to the dashboard. So we can't take that information directly from the dashboard to do our analysis, which poses a problem for us, because it makes it very difficult for us and for schools to submit accurate data to us and then for us to analyze actually the accurate data. And the other thing is, you know, dashboard is such a wonderful platform to use when it comes to analyzing data. But our main challenge, and we bring this up every time, is that schools don't upload on time. And because they are not uploading on time, we can't use Triple D as we wish to. And I don't know from you guys' side, is there anything that's happening that you may know of in order to put pressure on schools to submit on time? Because certain districts are recapturing the submitted data every term. Other districts have their DISM officials capturing the data. But I mean, there's no need to capture. If schools upload on time, then we can just use the Excel spreadsheets from dashboard and then compile our analysis. So yes, that's my 2 cents. Thanks.
Thanks for that. It's quite a challenge. Unfortunately, we don't have quick and ready answers. The best that we can recommend, and I'll allow for IK as well to make some comments here, is that fortunately from either from either a circuit level or a district level, you are, however, able to see which of the schools haven't yet updated, and whoever is managing those schools can at least be aware which are those schools and contact those schools and support that upload. But also remember, Trishan, you know, this particular year, there has been also issue with SAMs and uploading. So, you know, those are some of the issues that are also on the ground. But the best we can do is assist management to at least see which of the schools haven't submitted. But in terms of making the school submit, unfortunately, we don't have jurisdiction on that one. IK, would you like to add?
Thank you so much, Trish. What you actually said, it's something that just happened. I had a session with one of the districts. I'm not going to say the name of the district, but this question that you asked came up because it was a session that I had with school principals, and there were like over 100, and they saw the magic, like what you just said, like the dashboard is a cool tool that has this information. And do you know that most of them do not even have access to it? Now they started requesting, I guess because either they don't know, so I don't know the right answer, just what Musa said, right? They don't know, or I don't know, but they are not also submitting. That district is actually very low in submission, so no matter how cool this tool is, as I said, without data, there's nothing that can happen with it. And Trish, you actually alluded to that part. The good part about that is that you ask the question and you indirectly answered yourself, right? Saying that without this information, then we cannot use this tool. And that is why we always say that it's not how beautiful, how the analysis is about that. We all have a job to play. And the job is, can we all start having the same conversation when we get to school? Submission of information, not just submission, verification of the data, quality of the data that is being captured on SSS, moderation. Does that happen at the school level? But I believe that it's a collective approach. Let's start talking about this. We were worse off many years ago. We have actually done a lot. Let's be hopeful. Let's believe that if we keep going on with this, maybe 2 years from now, we would not be talking about data submission because people would have seen the importance and they would have actually keyed into it. And there's something you talked about, not seeing some particular information on the dashboard. My simple answer to that is that I am aware about it. Not everything that we have that is actually being incorporated. That's why there's always updates. So there's always, meetings that happen with stakeholders of education and those of the AAA to say, what are those important things that we need to see on the dashboard? This meeting is an ongoing thing. So who knows, as I said, some months from now or some years from now, we will be able to incorporate all that. But I thank you so much for your comments. Thanks.
Yeah, a very good question. Before I cut to Eustace, who also has their hand up, I do want to read some of the questions that are here. There's one from Rihanna Bagirati, and they're saying, our school term one data is not reflecting on the dashboard. What could be the problem possibly be? Well, Rina, we are not in the position to answer at this point. We would need to see quite a few information that we don't have privilege to at the moment to answer that question. I think it would be best for you to direct that question to our help desk, and IK will be sharing our help desk email there. So with any issues as far as submissions go, or you're not seeing items on the dashboard, it's probably a technical issue, and for that, please contact our help desk. Well, Eustace, I really hope you are ready now. I am now allowing you to talk. If you could just unmute yourself and pose your question. To unmute yourself, yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, colleagues. My question is based almost similar to what Tristan asked about mindset school level. At school level, last year, learners were condoned, especially with regards to mathematics, whereby mathematics and the other three subjects, whereby learner got a certain percentage. But when you capture them on SSMs, it reflects to us as those learners have been progressed. You see, and according to the policy that we got was that a progressed learner and a condoned learner, the condoned one, it's an automatic pass, but they both reflect on the same.
I don't know if it's me, IK, but I've lost Eustace there.
Still same here. I think it has to do with his network. He's still speaking, but his network is currently bad. Yeah.
I think we got the gist of his question. There are learners who are being condoned, but they're showing up on the dashboard as being progressed. I myself don't have a comment on that. I'm not aware of the condone promotion statistics. Let me defer to you, IK. Do you have a response for him there?
All right, thank you so much, Musa. It's still in line with what we have just actually spoken to Trishan about. I think the only way that this can be done is that this can actually be escalated from the district to DBE, because DBE is the sole custodian of the process here. We can only speak to this, but say action-wise, it needs to be directed from there. But I have jotted this down, and I would be escalating it from my side. But for now, what we see on the dashboard is actually what is applicable. I mean, what is there. And I believe also that consultations do happen. So things get updated. That's why you have an update of SSMs, you have an update of the value factor, and also there's also an update on the dashboard. Thank you.
Thanks for that response, IK. I do have another question here. Just a second. Sorry about that. I do have another question here from Constance Masugu. They're saying, may the presenter please repeat the steps from where I identified the subject failed? Constance, I'm going to have to protect my facilitator and request that you please engage with the recording and the slides there, only because of time. I think if he goes back to that, we'll find ourselves going a little bit over. But Constance, I'll absolutely ensure that you get the link to this recording and the slides. I know IK is going to want to do it, but we are short on time, so I'm gonna step in there. But please look out for the pack that we'll be sending to you very shortly. Then we have another one that's from Dungile Maponyani, and it's actually some words of thanks. She's saying she's commenting as a curriculum advisor, saying that the analysis helps us a lot, and we can also identify our possible distinctions. And this helps us to identify schools that underperformed and need to be followed up. Thanks for that. I'm glad to hear that the dashboard is assisting us. Then we've got a question from anonymous attendee, and they're saying, is there a manual one can keep for reference purposes to continue working on the dashboard? Well, Ike, if you can allow me just to steal your screen for 1 second. I do want to show to everyone, I think it will be of benefit to everyone who's here. As you can see, I am on the, can you see it, Ike? Am I on the dashboard? Am I on the simulation dashboard?
Yes, yes, you are.
Thanks for that. So colleagues, as you can see, I'm going to use the dummy dashboard or the simulation dashboard to show you this. But you'll notice that actually when you land on the dashboard over here, there's a question mark. And if you click on that question mark, it takes you to a different page. And in that page, you will see the entire manual of the dashboard is actually there. From about the dashboard to things you can see, any question you can have about the dashboard, just by clicking on the question mark there, you can actually see that. I thought that would be useful. Please take back the screen. I can show the slide again, but I just thought that one deserved for us to see it. Thanks for that question, anonymous attendee. And then we've got Cinda Pillay saying thank you. I think we answered her well or him well on the question they answered. We've got some words of thanks as well from Paula Pretorius. They're saying thank you. This session was informative and only a pleasure, Paula. It's always good to hear that what we are delivering is of value to our officials. IK, thank you for launching the polls there, colleagues. And I can see already 43% of us are talking to the poll. Just some short questions there that allows us to go back and to ensure we're keeping this webinar for us. Please engage with it. It's multiple choice, very simple questions. Just rating your experience on how you felt in today's webinar. And then colleagues, if you're not seeing your poll, if you just move your mouse around, you'll see the Zoom bar. You'll see one of the buttons on that Zoom bar is polls. So on your phone, you might have to touch your screen. If you're not seeing it, the 3 little dots in the bottom right, try to see if you can find the polls there. Some more words of thanks, IK, from Poppy Benny. They're saying thank you for improving my insight on Progress Learner data. And Jonathan Halleman saying thank you for this session. Appreciate this greatly. And if I can just go back to that response around condone and progressed. So colleagues, whether the learner is condoned or progressed, yes, I think we need to go back and talk about adjusting so that that can be clear. However, the effect remains is that the learner has gone to the next grade without meeting the minimum requirements. And so us not having a condoned at the moment does not take away from this analysis. Both the condoned and the progressed are learners who have been allowed to meet the requirements without actually passing or they failed their subjects, but they're still going to be promoted, go to the next level without having met the requirements. So it doesn't take away at the moment, but as IK has said, we do sit together a lot and talk about some of the things that are missing. And yeah, this will definitely go through that same evaluation. Yeah, some more thanks, IK. I'm not seeing any more questions. Let me perhaps go to the chat here. I see, yeah, even more thanks here, IK. No, no questions. And I have someone saying my internet connection was unstable. I struggle to follow. Hopefully I can join again some other time because I really needed this information as a subject advisor. This is from Lillian Mavigani. Lillian, we wanna to rest assured, if you can hear us, that you will definitely get the slides and this recording for you to go through in time. Another response from Constance Masugu, I guess to the point that I just made with regards to learners condone. They're saying a fair response and thank you. I'm glad that one landed well. Yeah, and just looking at the polls here, we are now at 55%, and it's ticking up, so colleagues are busy with those polls. However, we can leave the doors open for colleagues to finish the polls, but in the absence of further questions, I leave to you to close the session.
All right. Thank you so much, Musa. I'm looking at, there's a question from Request from Desmond. He says, good day, guys. Will newly appointee specific managers be trained in this program? My response to you, Desmond, is training. If you require training, we have the provincial triple D YouTube. Provincial triple D DDD managers that support DDD in the different provinces. Alternatively, you can actually request. Let me just put the slide on. Yes, these are their information. You can alternatively call the help desk here and request for training, right? And you will be assisted. So please use that and request for training, and you will actually be assisted. I'm just going through the questions, and I thank you so much for also helping with these colleagues. Thank you so much. I've seen the feedback. It's the next thing after this is, what do we do next? Call to action. What do we do next? What we need to do is we need to go back to our schools, to our district, to our circuits, and start utilizing, implementing what we have just learned. You might struggle for a little bit, it is fine, whatsoever. Remember that saying that says, if you keep doing the same thing, keep taking the same approach, you arrive at the same answer. But if you need something different, if you need a different answer, try something different. So, colleagues, I would really want you to go back, listen to the recording, try what you can. If you don't try it, you forget it. But, you try it, you make an error, you go back. Before you know it, you are good. And, we'll be having other sessions here where we are going to invite you. And the good thing about this is that you have been upskilled and you are doing something different. You are not using the same old approach. You are doing something different. Please, if you are stuck, if you want support, the emails of the provincial triple D provincial managers are here. The help desk, the triple D help desk is here. You can contact them through emails or through phone call, and they will be willing and more than happy to support you. I think I'm just going to close my side, colleagues. I just want to say thank you so much for availing yourself. We do all the preparation and all that, but we do them not for ourselves, we do them for you. So coming out here, seeing you dedicated, joining us, we appreciate you. And please join us next week, Thursday and Friday, for a new topic, same platform. Colleagues, if you feel that this has been informative to you, please share. Don't hold the information. Share it with your colleagues. Share the information. Share the contact. You can also pre-register if you don't receive the communication. You can register on the Triple D Logon website for our subsequent webinars that are actually coming up. From my side, I say thank you so much. And also thank you to Musa for supporting me today. Colleagues from my side, thank you so much. Have yourself a blessed weekend. Over to you, Musa.
Thanks, Ike, and thank you for a very clear and understandable explanation on how we can look at these progressed learners on the Learner Chart report. Nothing else to add other than everyone to have a wonderful weekend, to stay safe. We will see you in the next one.